A very warm welcome to this Erasmus Success Talk, a show in which I talk with alumni from the Erasmus University in Rotterdam. Today the topic is digital leadership. I'm not sure what to expect of that because I actually don't know what digital leadership is, but hopefully these people here with me in the room do know a bit more about this. First of all, Lee, what brought you to Rotterdam?
What brought me to Rotterdam?
Yeah, what brought you to Rotterdam?
Many years ago or recently?
Yeah, well, you are an alumnus. I mean, you did an MBA in Rotterdam, but you're not Dutch. So I wonder, why did you come to Rotterdam?
Well, good questions. It brought me back to my memories. I did my MBA because I want to learn. I'm an engineer. I studied in Delft.
Ah, okay.
15 years ago, almost, as an engineer. And then I work across industries. And some point, I feel like really I want some inspiration from business side. So MBA became, sort of like a natural decision.
Yeah. And of course, if you're in Delft, then you know about Rotterdam, you know the business university. So was it for you a big difference from Delft? Because Delft is a technical university. You have all these geeky guys building stuff.
I'm not sure.
Let me have my prejudices. And then you came to Rotterdam. Was that a completely different experience? Was that a completely different university?
I think it's quite different, to be very honest. The environment is a bit different from tech university.
Yeah.
How, for example, like the discussion we have, which focus on business, which creates value.
Yeah.
And also the atmosphere. I participated in the part-time MBA, so we have a lot of like real things to discuss with my classmates. What happened at the work from the companies. Of course, it's confidential, but we share our ideas more on a innovative level.
Yeah.
And at a point, because we need to have work experience, so the things you see, the things you experience, that's different when I studied in Delft.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite different if you ask me doing an MBA or, compared to technical university.
Yeah. You are now an Azure specialist. What is Azure again?
Azure is a Microsoft cloud platform.
Yeah.
What I'm doing at Microsoft is as Azure data and AI specialist, I help Dutch enterprise organizations, both commercial entities, companies, big companies or small companies, but also public sector, governments, local regional governments or healthcare organizations to transform, like you just mentioned, digital transformation using technologies to create value.
Okay. So you're a bit like a consultant. You help them guide. You're guiding them through all these new technologies.
Well, I would rather say.
Or you're just selling them stuff. You're just selling them software.
No. That's not. That's not the purpose. Our mission is to empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more.
Okay.
So technologies is technologies. If it doesn't create any business value, my job is to help my customers to realize there are so many enablers there in the market where you can use it to help your business generate value and how to turn specifically data into a strategic asset.
Yeah. Can you name a technology that you're now working with or working on that will be, which is still not very well known, but will change the world for the better and will have a big impact?
Definitely.
Tell us something new.
Definitely. So just take one example. I'm not to name the technology itself. I can name it Azure Synapse Analytics, for example, but it doesn't mean anything to you or to any other,
Azure did not even mean anything to me. No.
So let me explain it in a simple way. That's just thinking about the daily information you got, the data. From your WhatsApp, from your email, from your, newspaper, financial Dagblad every day. Mm-hmm. And do you want to put it into one place? Then you can generate insight yourself using the technology to come up a valuable insight immediately by yourself and then make your decision. So that's actually a data platform where you can think
So
about.
you have insight in how you spend your own time.
Well, you can have access to all kinds of data, all kinds of information, and generate insights for yourself.
Okay.
That is the technology where I'm really excited about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. Raj, you are the co-founder of the Erasmus Tech community. What is that community? Is that for students? Is that for teachers? Is that for alumni? Is that for MBA participants?
Well, first of all, everyone, but we started with the students.
Yeah.
So when I came to the university, Erasmus University, I found that it's an incredible atmosphere, incredible ecosystem, but it was very focused on like social sciences. And very often I felt that there was ignorance towards technology and towards the massive changes that were happening around us. And people thought, I can just do my accounting degree and I'll be fine. I would be like, I'm not sure about that. Or you can be a lawyer, but like, of course, look around what's happening. Yeah. So the Erasmus Tech community was created with some of my friends, close friends, to bring together the most exciting, most interesting technological advancements that are happening around in the industry, in the public sector, to bring that in and introduce students to it. And from there, we have grown to like also having faculty come in. We have had incredible speakers, incredible engagement.
Yeah, because when you explain like a tech community on the Erasmus University, you immediately think of business students having the ambition to work for some sort of tech company. But is it also meant for that, like preparing people for the, let's say, the tech business world?
Right.
Or is it also really focused from a point of interest, like we just love tech, we want to know more about tech?
Both. So we started with a mission, or with our slogan, understand tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we bring people together to understand what's going to come.
Yeah.
And if that prepares you for a certain career, great. We also ran skills boot camps and recruitment events. We brought like all the top CEOs of the country to speak at our events about technology. But it could also be finding your co-founder to start your own tech startup.
Yeah.
Or in fact, personally, my mission wasn't to prepare people for the big giants. It was more that come and learn and create your own opportunity. Don't necessarily follow one path.
Yeah. You also did an MBA in Rotterdam?
I didn't do an MBA. I did my master's. I did my master's in business information management. Yeah.
And you started this immediately after? Or during?
That was during.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks into my master's, I just felt like there was more time and capacity to do things.
You were bored. It's so easy to study in Rotterdam. You have so much time to set up.
I would say if you're good with time management, 40%, 50% of your time can go into education.
Yeah.
University is not a place just to follow lectures. It's such an incredible birthplace of ideas. If you just follow lectures, you're not doing justice to your time.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about digital leadership. Raj, what is that? What is digital leadership? I mean, I understand what digital is, and I understand what leadership is, but I don't quite yet understand what digital leadership is.
I think the world doesn't really understand either. So that's the case for most.
No one's getting it. Okay.
The words like Azure to many sound like a combination of letters that doesn't make sense. But it's, what is digital leadership? I mean, I think what any technology does, it creates new enablement. So it makes new opportunities. And leadership with that is how do you actually take advantage of those new opportunities? And I would add not just the opportunities, but make use of it, but in a safe and a holistic manner.
Yeah.
So I think digital leadership is something which is not just the traditional sense of leadership. Let's look at the government, or let's look at the academia for that. Right now, the world has been turned around. You look at young people to look at what's new.
Yeah.
And so leadership is not just gray old suits, but Sorry for that.
I wasn't informed about the dress code.
But it's about looking back and identifying the new opportunities, and that they can spawn from anywhere.
Yeah.
And hopefully bringing that together for new ideas and making a better world.
Yeah. Lee, is that the same for you? Because leadership, it sounds very connected to what you do. I mean, you lead companies through the digital world, right?
Yeah, somehow yes. But I think I interpreted it a little bit different. Of course, digital leadership also the first time for me to sort of like hear it.
Yeah.
But digitalization or digital transformation, what I understand or how I interpret it is a sort of integration of digital technologies of everything, of all area to a business.
Yeah.
And one of the key fundamental characteristic of it is it change the way you do business. It change how you operate your organization. And it fundamentally change the way you deliver values to people, to your customers, to all the stakeholders around you.
Yeah.
So a leader driving that journey can be a CIO, can be a CEO, but can be also a manager or even a staff from your organization.
Yeah.
So how I interpreted that is really giving an impact to an organization or to the society, to anyone, using digital technologies. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, yeah. So from the answer you gave, Raj, I get there's like a society dimension to digital leadership, and you are more referring to, let's say, the business dimension of digital leadership. So to stay within your environment of the business world, I can understand there's also a lot of resistance because people are conservative. People want to do things their way. They want to keep on doing things they did for the last 30 years. They don't want to change. Exactly. So how do you overcome those obstacles? How do you overcome the skeptic people? like myself, I need to be honest. Yeah.
Now, wow, that's a really great question. So we have that daily, and even myself, some point I don't want to change. Then, for certain reasons, right?
Yeah.
It's actually digital transformation. Any project, small or big or huge, even within your organization or 2-3 people, right? It's a change management. So that's exactly something I've learned from my MBA. I really like the course organizational culture, where you have actually 3 elements. One is the capabilities. Can we do that? If not, how can we close the gap from skills part? Second is the culture. Do we really want to do that? If not, what is the reason? How can we motivate people to do that, follow you? That is leaders. Yeah. And the third one is more from external authority. Like the example here, you can have Germany, for example, or China, for example, when talking about data, talking about all the regulations, etc., and talking about sectors within the Netherlands, for example, the healthcare, for example, or the sensitive data, GDPR, etc. Those authority, which through this change journey or digital journey, you need to figure that.
Yeah.
So 3 elements: capability, culture, authority.
Is it, Raj? Is it realistic to expect from businesses to play this role? I mean, businesses, of course, they're not intended to have too many thoughts on morality and society. They are they're made for making business and money. So is digital leadership something you can ask from every entrepreneur?
That's a tricky question. I don't think there's one scapegoat or like one part of the society that can be made responsible for it. I mean, very often we hope that the government would play that role, but that's not, government cannot keep up. So I think it comes down to actually individuals.
Yeah.
It comes down to individual sets of values. So we are raised with certain values that not to exercise all the power that we are given. It's just because you're strong doesn't mean you're going to go punch your own people.
No.
So we can have certain power, but knowing how to exercise it is extremely important. So if an organization develops certain capability, I think it's extremely important to sort of have these roundtable discussions with people of different backgrounds, academic backgrounds, societal backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, to ultimately identify, is this something which we want to proceed with to the world?
Yeah.
And we see more and more that academia, the public sector, so government, the businesses are coming together to discuss that, right? So, but ultimately, I think it comes down to education. Not everything that we can do should be done. And if we, as people, understand that, hopefully we can, bring that to an organizational level as well.
Talking about education, is there enough attention for this kind of topics at universities, like the Erasmus University?
It's getting there. I do clearly see progress, but I would always blame it's not fast enough.
Yeah.
So,
because what I remember from studying in Rotterdam, I studied law and my friends studied business. It was really specialist studies.
Absolutely.
There was not this broader societal view, or we did not really have discussions like this. Actually.
Totally. So I think the biggest fundamental problem with education is that we train towards specific professions, rather than people to solve problems. So if we say, I think any educational institution's job is to actually help people solve problems and identify those problems and have the right skill set, the right attitude, and a set of values to develop a solution. But instead we say, why don't you actually focus on macroeconomics, and you're going to focus on microeconomics? And, that is too narrow, especially in this fast changing world.
Yeah.
Anything can be learned online these days.
Yeah.
If you want to specialize, go ahead.
Yeah.
But I think a university...
So it might actually be kind of dangerous to create a world full of specialists who are only
I think we need more
looking.
interconnectors. I think that's why we see a lot more interdisciplinary kind of education coming in, and interdisciplinary research. Like, you want to bring in like the techies to be able to also talk the business language, and the business languages people with the business acumen also be able to build. Otherwise, we're creating different worlds.
Yeah. Lee, you work at a big tech company. What can universities like Rotterdam learn from them?
Well, I just want to comment on Raj, sharing.
Yeah, sure.
I think overall, I studied in tech university and then business school, and I think yes, the majority or the trend still, we focus quite a lot on the functional skills instead of leadership skills. But very interesting, when I switched my career, I worked previously before Microsoft. I worked in a law firm, so very traditional industry. And how I make my career switch, it is also a transformation from an engineering part to the tech, to the merger acquisition, and then back to tech. Is actually I got my classmates. We just initiated those community chat, etc. And we're still doing that nowadays, quite recently, also talking about responsible AI. To talk about how we give impact to the society. From leadership perspective, how to bring fairness, transparency, inclusiveness, security, privacy, those issues into our daily practice as leader for business. So I think we are doing much more. That's to improve our education, to really inspire our students, no matter which level, which phase, to have these values in our DNA. But the thing is, I kind of think that should be, business drive faster if you're looking at the digital transformation, digital technology adoption, adapt to the new technologies. But actually, local regional governments, for example, here in the Netherlands, also doing quite a lot. They are not really not aware of what is happening. The thing is, like you just mentioned, there might be some lack of knowledge, resilience of their own things they're doing. So we need to figure out what exactly the roadblocks or fears within people's mind or what they are thinking, why not happening. So back to your questions, I think education is doing much, much better. The thing is, we could think about to deliver impact is to see how we generate that as native reaction for our future students when come into a decision. What would you think? For example, facial recognition. Can we use that? Is it right to use it? or is it the right data or pictures we should use it? Is it ethical?
Yeah.
That should be already the first second when everyone touched those resources.
Yeah. But is that actually happening? Because, I mean, it has been a trend for decades that every study became more and more specialistic, inward looking. That has always been, of course, the criticism when it comes to finance. You know, they're acting like they're not a social study. They're acting like they're studying mathematics. So the whole social dimension is lost. So do you see that's actually changing at universities?
Well, at university, I'm not really familiar. I'm already off campus for quite long. But I see that business did drive that because the companies is, hiring a younger generation, and what they need, for example, in banks, they are using this digital technology, data science to do due diligence, for example. That's quite common already. The fault detection that drive the needs in the education. But still, technology, like we discussed earlier, technology is technologies. It needs to create value and also has huge impact. So that, I think, needs to be integrated into our education. Yeah.
So last question, Raj, can you say that digital leadership is a process that is actually bottom up more than it is top down? Is it coming from the young people in bigger organizations starting this discussion? Let's say what technology, what transformation is necessary, and what technology is ethical and wanted?
So it's a very consultant answer, both. But I like to believe so. I like to believe that it is bottom up, especially the sparks. The early stage, the growth sparks are very often coming from the young people. But if the leadership, like the traditional leadership, the C-suite, if it doesn't support it, doesn't embrace it, then it's very difficult to actually have something sustainable in a company. Then what we see is a lot of...
But then they walk away.
And then
that's what millennials do.
That is true. Nothing is holding back anymore. Now, what I find very interesting among sort of my peers and is there is a sense of creators. Like, people are becoming not just creative, but like they're creating products, they're creating stuff. It's become much more easy these days, or easier to create, let's say, apps or create websites, and people can just build things. That's what I'm extremely excited about. That before, like even like 5-7 years ago, people thought, oh, I need to have a technical background, or only the tech nerds are building. Now with new tools, the whole no-code revolution, like, extremely interesting no-code tools are coming up. And that is extremely exciting to me, because I see that people are not only just thinking and putting that into a presentation and pitch deck is like, hey, check out my great idea. They build it and say, listen, I've built this, we are already using it. Do you want to support it? So that gap between thinking and doing is reducing significantly. And then, of course, for the more mature leadership, it's easier to accept it, because it's like, hey, there's already something. I'm extremely excited to see how practitioners in different parts, like in different industries, are not just thinking, but already creating tools and building stuff. And that is like this creators economy in the digital space. That's what I find super interesting.
This is hopeful. I consider myself a creative, and I constantly call technical people to fix my problems, and it would be great if I don't need to
just Google it. You'll see that there's so many solutions. I mean, most of the time, if I look at sort of my friends, or like with my student assistants that I'm working with, like no problem is an actual problem. They're like, I just Google it, YouTube it, and in like a day or two, I know what to do. That's extremely empowering, I think.
Okay. Thanks to you all. I think I learned a bit about digital leadership, and thanks for watching.